Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mr. TARDIS and I'm in a car. No, I am not reacting and having a mental breakdown to another Russell T Davies series finale, and I'm also not in my hotel to review another Big Finish story. I'm in the car to review a Big Finish story because I'm at work and I'm picking up some equipment at a nearby warehouse and it's not ready for another hour, and rather than just sit around I thought, let's talk about Snare. So if you've been watching my Doctor Who Big Finish reviews, you'll know that for the 9th Doctor, it's a range for Big Finish that they've been doing for several years that I've been a really big fan of, but I did think that towards the end of the range, they were really hitting a ceiling with the character. Christopher Eccleston was always showing up for the material, and there was some really great material. I think that the River Song box set that they did last year, Star-Crossed, is one of the best of the entire set. It really ended on a high. But I felt like the range was getting pretty repetitive. It felt like you weren't able to do much with the Doctor as a character if you weren't going to go into the Time War PTSD angle of it, which I think Christopher Eccleston didn't want to do, which is fine, but you've got to find an alternative for that incarnation, and I don't think many of the box sets approached that. So now, 20 years after they both originally played the roles of the 9th Doctor and Rose Tyler, we have Christopher Eccleston and Billie Piper doing bi-monthly, hour-long Big Finish audio dramas, and the first one is Snare, written by Tim Foley. Now, Tim Foley wrote the final 9th Doctor River Song story in the Star-Crossed box set, Archipelago, which is, honestly, I think it's like the best River Song Doctor story that I've heard. And if you told me like a couple of years ago that the best River Song story would be a 9th Doctor one, I would have called you poppycock, I would have called you ludicrous, but that's kind of what happened. So when it was announced that Tim Foley was setting the standard for this new 9th Doctor and Rose Tyler range from Big Finish, I was really excited. And Snare returns the 9th Doctor and Rose to the Powell estate in 2005, 2006, because she went missing for a year. Are we in 2006? And Snare's placement in the first series of Doctor Who from 2005, it takes place after Father's Day, but before The Empty Child. After that pretty traumatic experience with the Doctor and Rose with Pete Tyler in the 1980s, or as the Doctor referred to it, the Isle of Wight, the Doctor takes Rose back to her mum Jackie in the Powell estate to sort of detox and process what's happened. But someone else who has also recently left the Powell estate is young Kevin. Kevin is played by Alex Austin. He used to live on the Powell estate, he was a friend with Rose Tyler, he had a distant, abusive father, and when his father was having one of his mood swings as a child, Kevin would basically explore the Powell estate and ingratiate himself with the different families there, including the Tylers. Kevin moved out, he went to an art school in London, and he's come back because his father has recently passed away and he has to clear out the Powell estate flat. So Kevin has come up from London, he's brought his photography student friend Marlene up with him as well. Marlene played by Hannah Brown. Kevin goes to his dad's empty apartment but finds some massive alien foliage growing inside of the bathroom. It's overgrown, it's neon coloured, and the Doctor is now there to investigate it.
See something?
Art students are generally harmless. It's the alien flora you have to watch out for.
I had no idea Kevin's dad had... Hang on, so did this stuff kill him?
Doubt it, it's not toxic, and I've dealt with a few man-eating plants in my time. So trust me when I say that's not what's happening here. I tell you what it is, though.
What?
A mystery.
And you love that.
Of course I do.
Mum's gonna be mad it's ruined her film night.
I keep telling her that I don't want to watch Titanic. I was there. It was traumatic.
Hey,
Hey, Kev.
how's it looking in there? Oh, I was probably overreacting, weren't I?
You see a verdant jungle in your bathroom and you run to Jackie Tyler. Why?
Kev was always popping in as a kid.
Those plants just felt wrong. I can't explain it.
Don't worry, that's my job.
Where's he off to, then?
Gone to get some tools out of his shed, probably. Oh, it's good to see you, Kev. I only just heard about your dad. I'm sorry. That must have been tough.
Not really. Hey, what you been up to? Your mum said travelling.
Yeah, I've been all over. But the last stop was a little rough, so we're just, taking a break.
Rough? As in, like, gangs and stuff?
Not quite, like, emotional.
Oh. Where was this?
Not where, but when.
Eh?
Guess you could say it was the Isle of Wight.
I understand there's been a lot of fan discussion online about Vampire Weekend, which is the 13th Doctor opener, also written by Tim Foley, and the 9th Doctor opener, Snare. And I don't want to get too bogged down in those comparisons. It's mainly due to the same writer and just the time proximity of them. When it comes to Vampire Weekend, it seems that the mission statement is to get the 13th Doctor and Yaz and to start diving into characterization that didn't really get fleshed out in the TV series. Whereas with Snare, we have the 9th Doctor and Rose, and they're diving deeper deeper into the subtext, they're diving deeper into the characterization that was already there, and these audio dramas can now expand upon. It's two complementary but different mission statements, in my opinion. And what makes Snare such a brilliant 50 minutes of Ninth Doctor audio drama is that it dives deeper into these characterizations that didn't get the time to be fleshed out in 2005 because they only had 13 episodes, but it dives deeper into how the Doctor is recovering from the Time War with a companion by his side, and especially after the events of Father's Day, where we now have this complementary story with the Ninth Doctor using the powers of time and space to meet Pete Tyler in an incredibly bittersweet outing where, yes, she did get those extra hours with him, but got to see him die the death that was basically inevitable for him. And Kevin now has a similar opportunity, but he doesn't quite know it yet because he doesn't know the Doctor, he doesn't know about time and space. And Rose's conflict in Snare is a fascinating one because it's about whether or not she should use that influence and power and kind of force it on Kevin. Kevin wants to know why his father acted the way he did, why he treated him the way he did when he was growing up. And when he discovers this alien plant life in his apartment, he's like, oh, that's why my dad was ill. That's why my dad was like this. And the Doctor early on is like, no, the plant life has only been here for like a couple of months to a year. Whatever he did when you were growing up, this wasn't it. And Rose is taken aback by the bluntness of that. And for my money, the best scene of the drama is when the Ninth Doctor and Rose are having a mini argument about this. And Rose calls the Doctor out on this and is like, why do you hate my family so much? Why do you hate the idea of domesticity when you clearly must have had a family at some point? And the Doctor brushes her off and rebukes her, and he clearly is still hurting. And I think the reason the Ninth Doctor doesn't do domestic, whether it's in the text of the TV series itself or not, it certainly is the text now in Big Finish, is because he's maybe jealous of what Rose has and what Kevin had, and he doesn't really know what to do with that anymore. Now, Christopher Eccleston does take a bit of a back seat here. He's giving a really strong performance, but compared to what he's done in the past, now he has to share space with Billie Piper, who's doing a terrific job as Rose. And the fact that this is the youngest that Billie Piper has played Rose in Big Finish audios, because she's returned for Dimension Canon stories, she's returned for David Tennant era stories, and the fact that she's able to just slip back into 19-year-old Rose Tyler on the Powell estate in a really lovely scene between her and Kevin on a seesaw, really lovely stuff. How does Billie Piper keep sounding younger? But then you remember she's a capital A actor and she's absolutely fantastic. She's great in this story. Alex Austin is giving a strong performance as Kevin as well. I liked Hannah Brown as Marlene, this person who's really putting on this front as being some sort of posh, upper class arty-farty photography student who means well but doesn't quite know the person she wants to be yet, and she's finding her place at university. A small role in the grand scheme of things, but that's what I love about Tim Foley's scripts. He is able to make these characters feel so fully fleshed out within just a couple of lines of dialogue, and they feel so textured and alive, and it's why Tim Foley's so bloody great at what he does. Camille Kaduri is a lot of fun here. She's basically the comic relief side character, but is also there to accentuate Rose's personality as well. But when I keep on thinking about Snare, I keep coming back to the idea of the family drama, of the idea that Rose has this essentially this godlike omniscient ability now with the Doctor and the TARDIS to expand on the family dynamics and sort of move away beyond it. And is Kevin ready for that? And should he even have access to that type of power? And it's Rose coming to a sort of reckoning about what her responsibility is. Not in like a doctorly way, like how the 12th Doctor and Clara are basically two sides of the same coin, but in a way like, oh, Rose really appreciated this, Rose really wanted this, or maybe she wasn't quite ready as a 19-year-old council estate girl, she wasn't ready for that type of power and that type of knowledge with her dad. But like, should she be pressing this on Kevin? And that dynamic, that morality is, I'm still thinking about that, and it's been like a couple of days since I listened to this drama. The idea of these intergenerational relationships relationships, which essentially can break down like they're nothing in the TARDIS, but we're back in the Powell estate where these have real interpersonal complications and real interpersonal consequences. And how we establish in The Unquiet Dead, when Gwyneth is able to read Rose's mind to an extent, when she starts traveling in time and space, she's only 2 episodes into traveling with the Doctor, and she's apparently thinking a lot about her dad. How time and space has broadened Rose's horizons and has in effect snared her, and Kevin, now discovering this neon jungle in his late dad's flat, is possibly doing the same thing and maybe entrapping him or confining him to this dynamic he thought he had with his dad. Really fascinating sci-fi drama domestic conflicts. Like, the Snare really is the story that keeps on giving the more you think about it, the more you engage with it. Snare is not a story that I think you should go into cold. I think it's a story that maybe does require a revisitation of some stories in series 1 before you dive right in. If you've not watched Father's Day for like 20 years, watch that first, or watch series 1 again and then dive into Snare. It's not like I could say with the 6th Doctor or 7th Doctor box set, yeah, just dive in and you'll have a great time. I think Snare really benefits from that closeness to the material, like it is 2005 all over again. And beyond that, the only way I can't recommend Snare is if you just don't like the 9th Doctor and Rose, if you don't like the family drama angle from series 1. If you do like that, if you are on board with it, if the 2005 series was a massive transformational life experience like it was for me, then you should have listened to Snare yesterday. Snare is absolutely terrific. It's an absolute blinder of a story, wonderful characterization, some really great fun sci-fi concepts. I was listening to the idea when they finally unveil what this jungle is in the flat and how it's expanding the sci-fi horizons of the show. I was just thinking, God, how does Tim Foley or any Doctor Who writer, how do they think of this? This is so clever. Now, Vampire Weekend, another comparison, is that it was laying some groundworks for a series arc similar to Bad Wolf, Torchwood, Mr. Saxon, etc. And I think what's happening now for this 9th Doctor and Rose Tyler series, this Range with Big Finish, is that there is now another mystery of why is all of this stuff now happening at the Powell estate. Matt Fitton, the producer, basically alludes to this in the behind-the-scenes interviews. And we now know that the next story, October's release, is by Timothy X. Atack, and it's called The Last Days of the Powell Estate. And it's another story with Camille Coduri's Jackie Tyler, except it's the Powell estate in the year 2036. I love how we have more adventures now with the 9th Doctor and Rose, and we still can't get off planet. We're still grounded to Earth. I loved Timothy X. Atack's 9th Doctor story in the Respond to All Calls box set, Planet of the End. That was like absolute bonkers, big idea out there sci-fi. So I'm wondering what he does with the 9th Doctor now, especially with Rose in tow. But this was such a strong opener to this 9th Doctor and Rose Adventures range. I honestly have very few complaints about it. It ends on such a wonderful note as well, almost like Sarah Jane Adventures-esque, where there's just this wonderful, hopeful note to the story, this really wonderful non-violent resolution for not just Kevin, but also what remains of his father. And I thought that was absolutely sublime. With Big Finish, it does feel like 2005 never ended, and I highly, highly recommend Snare. Wonderful stuff. Tim Foley's knocked it out of the park once again. I want to hear more of Eccleston and Billie Piper together. There's a couple of scenes together that they share, some nice little moments. Like I said, there was the argument they had, which was probably the standout of the story. But I want to hear more of them. I feel like maybe I'm a spoiled git, but I want to hear more of them together, acting alongside each other. But we're going to be getting that for the next 2 years in 11 more stories now after Snare. So thank you to Big Finish. Wonderful job. I can't wait to hear more. The Last Days of the Powell Estate coming out in October. And that's my review of the 9th Doctor Adventures Snare from my car. Hopefully this worked out. Thank you so much for watching this review. Really appreciate it. Hit the like button. Let me know what your thoughts on Snare were in the comment section below. Subscribe for more Big Finish reviews. And folks, I'll see you all next time.